Hello, and welcome to the Department of Community and Economic Development's recorded webinar about the Solar for Schools program. My name is Devin Gray, and I am the program manager in charge of Solar for Schools and the main point of contact for questions concerning the program. The Solar for Schools program was established by the Solar for Schools Act that was passed in July of 2024. This program was created to help lower the cost of completing solar energy projects at school facilities. The eligible applicants for this program will be school entities as defined in the Public School Code of 1949, including school districts, intermediate units, area career and technical schools, charter schools, cyber charter schools, and regional charter schools. Beyond those entities defined in the Public School Code, we can also accept applications from chartered schools for the education of the deaf or blind, community colleges, the Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, and the Pennsylvania College of Technology. Parochial schools and private schools will not be eligible applicants for this program. Those entities defined on our previous slide may submit an application for a solar energy project that is occurring at a school facility related to photovoltaic or solar thermal devices that convert, transfer, or store solar energy into usable forms of thermal or electric energy. In order to be eligible, this project must undergo a successful solar facility site assessment by a qualified provider. There are a few particular definitions in that sentence that I'll go into a little more detail on later. For now, though, the scope of costs we can cover under this program is limited to costs that are directly related to the solar energy project. So we can cover the purchase and installation of the solar system, any energy storage costs and equipment, engineering and design related to the solar system, and if the system will be ground mounted, we can cover site preparation costs. This means we cannot cover the costs of utility or facility improvements. So if something like a new roof is needed, the eligible applicant will need to seek funds elsewhere for that. We also are not able to cover power purchase agreements, also known as PPAs. However, we have allowed for the costs of operations and maintenance contracts offered by the installer for the first 2 years after the system is built to be covered under the grant. When designing this program, we looked at what other states were doing for their Solar for Schools programs and found that funds were often distributed in relation to a measure of need across the school districts. The Pennsylvania Department of Education, also known as PDE, has determined similar aid ratios measures that we will be using to determine the grant maximum for each school. In particular, we will be using the market value to personal income aid ratio from PDE to determine those grant maximums. If an applicant does not have this aid ratio determined for them, we will use aid ratio of the school district where the project site is located. If this aid ratio is greater than or equal to 0.7, the maximum grant amount will be the lesser of $500,000 or 50% of the project cost. If the aid ratio is between 0.5 and 0.7, the maximum will be the lesser of $400,000 or 40%. And if the aid ratio is less than 0.5, the maximum will be the lesser of $300,000 or 30% of the project cost. These aid ratios are available on PDE's website, and a link to that page can be found on the program page for the Solar for Schools on dced.pa.gov. You can find the program page by searching for Solar for Schools or the number 4S in the search bar on the top right of the dced.pa.gov homepage. Under the legislation for this program, we were tasked with dividing the Commonwealth into 3 regions by population. Those regions are listed out here. The $25 million for this program will be allocated evenly across the regions. So each region will receive $8.33 million. And this map shows those same 3 regions that were listed on that last page. Both this map and the list of counties in each region can be found on the Solar for Schools program page on the DCED website. Now, I'll go into a little more detail on the definitions that we touched on in the eligible project slide. So an eligible project must be located on a school facility, which is defined in the legislation for this project as an educational building and surrounding premises owned by an eligible applicant. We've had several schools reach out and ask about using fields owned by the school district or support buildings like bus garages to house those projects. If the field or support building shares a campus with the educational building or is on a property directly adjacent to the educational building's property, it will be an eligible project. If the support building or field will be further away from the educational building, I would ask that you reach out to us about the project with a map showing where the project site and the educational building are located so we can determine if it will be eligible. The solar facility site assessment for eligible projects must be completed by a qualified provider, which is defined in the legislation as a person or business capable of evaluating, recommending, designing, implementing, and installing a solar energy project. For the purpose of this program, an entity will be considered a qualified provider if they have at least one qualified employee who is either NABCEP certified or has successfully installed a minimum of 3 PV or solar systems. The solar facility site assessment is an evaluation of the school facility to ascertain whether the school facility is capable of supporting the proposed solar energy project and estimates about the cost and savings for the project. At a minimum, we want those assessments to include the orientation and location of the proposed solar system, a solar shading study, a 25-year cash flow analysis showing the initial estimated cost and the estimated savings over a 25-year period, including any rebate programs, a cost estimate for the system itself, and a brief maintenance and operation plan for the system. It should be noted that if an eligible applicant is awarded grant funds, they may not contract with the qualified provider who completed the solar facility site assessment to complete the solar energy project. This means the qualified provider that did the assessment cannot be the installer or the engineer for the project. If funds were awarded for a project, the applicant will need to follow the bidding procedures defined under either the Separations Act or the Guaranteed Energy Savings Act. If there's any questions as to what must be done to satisfy those bidding procedures, the school's solicitor should be consulted. If there's any question on our end, we will always default to the school's solicitor. If a grantee that received a grant under the program sells, transfers, or conveys the school facility where the energy project is located within 20 years of the award of the grantee must notify the department and provide a contractual agreement between the grantee and the proceeding owner. Proceeding owner must then reimburse the department a portion of the grant award based on the number of years that have transpired since the award of the grant. If the transfer occurs within 5 years of grant award, 80% of the grant will need to be reimbursed. If it is between 5 and 10 years, 60% of the grant will be reimbursed. Between 10 and 15 years, 40% will be reimbursed. Between 15 to 20 years, 20% will be reimbursed. And after 20 years, no reimbursement will be required. So this program is currently open and accepting applications, and the first round of applications will end on January 31st of 2025. At the end of this application period, all applications will be reviewed and awarded as one group. If we receive more requests than we have funds, we will be assessing the applications and awarding funds to the strongest projects. Part of our assessment will include whether a school is planning to include the completed solar energy project in their curriculum. If you will be including the completed project into your curriculum, please provide a brief description of how it will be included. If there is still money left in the program, we will reopen it after those initial review periods and accept rolling applications that we will review and approve as we receive them until we fully exhaust the funds for the program across all 3 regions. If you would like to apply, I would encourage you to go to the Solar for School website at dced.pa.gov and check out the guidelines. Those guidelines list all of the exhibits for the application and have a sample resolution that can be used by the applicant. We have received a number of questions about whether an application can be submitted without a signed resolution. We do want submitted applications to be completed and include all required exhibits. However, if the school board was unable to sign the resolution but will be signing it at their next meeting, you can upload a letter explaining that and submit the application. Please be aware that we will not award any funds to an application until we receive the signed resolution and the application is complete. So you will want to submit that as soon as you possibly can. On the program webpage, we've also included some links to helpful resources like the PDE aid ratios, as well as an FAQ page where we address some common questions we've received and elaborate on some of the guideline requirements. Of note, on the FAQ page, we explain what we are looking for within the utility letter of support in the guidelines. We're not looking for a formal letter of support from the utility company. We just want something that shows the applicant has spoken to the utility company about the project and has been made aware of what the interconnection agreement might require. This will help the school avoid any complications down the line that might stop a project from moving forward. If you have any questions regarding the application itself, you can contact our customer service team at the numbers listed on screen. If you have any questions about the program itself or its requirements, you can contact the Center for Business Financing at the number or email on screen. Alternatively, you can also reach out to me directly via phone or email, as I am the primary contact point for this program. If you cannot reach me for any reason, you can also contact Brian Eckert, as he is the other manager for this program. Thank you for watching this presentation, and please reach out with any questions you may have.